March is by far the most exciting month for sports gamblers as we get closer each day to the tournament. There's nothing that compares to it, and the madness, my friends, is on its way. Welcome to Two for Your Money. Glad you're here, and if you like the show, don't forget, hit subscribe and follow us across all social media. Then you'll get notified each and every time a new show drops. Steve Budin here, legend in my own mind, owner and operator of the largest sports betting analysis company in the world, and I'm joined each and every week by my partner in crime, the always entertaining, reigning, heavyweight handicapping champion of the world. You know who I'm talking about. Once again, it is Brandon Lang. What's up, champ?
So, little announcement for you.
Okay.
On my bucket list has always been the guy that goes to an NBA game that shoots the layup, the free throw, the NBA
right.
three.
That's exactly right.
In the half court. Like, you got 24 seconds.
Yep.
And through some networking people, I've been promised that next February for my 63rd birthday, it is going to happen. I'm not going to tell you what NBA team.
Right.
I'm not going to tell you
just
everything.
stay injury free. You know what I mean? You don't want to go there on crutches and try to do that.
No. Believe me. So I came back and got into a high school gym, and bad knee and all. And actually, the 11th time I tried it, I did it.
Wow.
So the layup, the free throw, no problem. The NBA three, again, depth perception. But I would have played so much basketball and shot so much prior to this. I'm fired up, man. Listen, I'm going to tell you right now. I'll hit the layup. I'll hit the free throw. I'll hit the NBA three. It'll be the half court shot. You got to get those 3 in 11 seconds. That leaves you 13 seconds to get 2 half court shots in. That's the key right there. So we will be trained, great shape, bucket list item, as they say, buckets. I'll get you buckets.
Well, the truth is if anything, the best chance you have of hitting that half court shot is probably off the backboard. And I say that because there's all kinds of adrenaline if you hit the first 3 shots.
I agree.
And you run to that half court. The best you can do is aim, to that rim, and you're probably going to overshoot it a little bit because of that adrenaline. And you could wind up hitting it off the backboard. I've seen that a lot. So, listen, I would never bet against you in something like that.
You have to. You just said it. If you're going to get 2 shots at the half court, which you almost have to, that first one has got to be long so it comes back to you.
Yep.
Can't be chasing left or right or you're done. So 100% Steve-O, it's got to be long. You've seen me in a gym.
Hey, I've seen you in my gym, in my private gym. You put on a performance like I've never seen before. Almost retired me from the game. That was I actually have bad memories of that. That wasn't fun for me.
You and Kenny, baby. You and Kenny.
All right, guys. So many sports gambling podcasts out there to choose from, but none, I think you all agree, are like this one. Nowhere where you're going to find 2 better opinions that come from 2 more opposite sides of the tracks. Brandon, hands down, the most well-known handicapper in the industry. Love him or hate him, he's a household name. And if Brandon was an iguana, he'd be called the Lizard of Odds. Me, on the other hand, former bookmaker, creator of the offshore and online betting industry. For 20 years, I made money on the dark side, taking the bets. But for the last 20 years, I've joined forces with you, the gambler. And the rest, my friends, is history. Okay, Brandon, before we get into this week's highlighted Hoop Picks, got to get your opinion on this. We're going to talk a little Las Vegas like we always do first. Sunny place for shady people. You lived there for a decade. I worked there for over a decade. And when it comes to gambling and overall entertainment, it's nothing short of the center of the universe. Now, 3 days ago, a guest at the Suncoast Casino put 50 cents into a Lightning dollar-linked checkered flag slot machine. And that guest hit it big for about $15,000. Another player, same day, at the Jackpot Carnival Extreme slot machine at Sam's Town Hotel, made a $2 bet and also won $15,000. My question is, as Vegas continues to reinvent itself as a luxury hotel and entertainment destination with the best shows and restaurants and pool parties ever created, how much of the lore remains money for nothing and chicks for free? Dollar in a dream from Jackpot Dreamers. How much of it is still the gambling? What say you?
Believe it or not, it's about 30%.
Mm.
because the nightclub scene and the youth movement and the bottle service and the big time DJs coming in, getting paid an arm and a leg to fill these places. Yeah, the degenerate gambler still goes in and plays the video poker and plays the slots and plays the this and plays the that, but it has turned more into an entertainment type place without the gambling than it has with people that just are degenerates. Now, the table game side of it, blackjack, baccarat, craps, still see a significant amount of action. But the slot players, I can't tell you how many times I'm rolling through the wind and the slots aren't hit like they were, let's say 10, 15 years ago. They're just not. And that because I believe the youth movement has come through. And also the penny slots are huge. People can sit down and drink for free and play penny slots forever. So those $15,000 wins, I haven't heard the mega bucks being hit for a while. I used to play that, just taking a shot at that. But otherwise, the youth movement, I think, is taking away a little bit of that.
Yeah, so I tend to agree, but you contrast that to downtown, right, where it's just the betting. So, like, I would say downtown, 80% of the people downtown are there to win money, and the slot machines are packed. You go into, like, the Golden Nugget, and there's not an open slot machine. The video poker is still a big draw there. You know, so I think there's a big contrast between the Strip, which has looked at a hotel now differently, right? The Strip, they want to monetize every inch of that hotel. So whatever they have in that hotel, whether it's the pool party or the shows or the restaurants, each one of those is looked at as a separate revenue vertical, right? Where in the past it was only the casino, and they would use all those other elements to ultimately keep their casino fill. Now every one of those elements is actually a revenue vertical, and the casino is just one part of the overall revenue picture. But not so fast downtown. Downtown is still, dominated by the gambler. You would agree?
Yeah, that's and much as they're trying to spice up downtown and circa kind of the start of that, again, Golden Nugget, downtown is still downtown.
Yep.
And yes, with Fontainebleau in where it's at, Circus is going down, a new casino's going up there, Resorts World across the street. I guess the Strip's moving closer and closer, but after Sahara Boulevard and Las Vegas Boulevard, it's wedding chapels and seediness. I don't know how much further they can push up to make downtown relevant the way the Wynn on down going towards the airport is. But I completely agree. Downtown is more of a gambling.
And also as Vegas fills out with not just tourists, right, but with actual residents, we're seeing now the hotel casinos branch into residential neighborhoods where ordinarily you would never see them. And now we're getting a few popping up there, and their revenue numbers are off the charts as they're not competing with the Caesars Palaces of the world. So that's an interesting movement as well that we'll have to keep an eye on. But let's take a quick left turn from casino gambling to the world of sports gambling versus the prediction market, right? As the sports betting explosion continues, there are companies like PredictIt and Polymarket and TradeX. They're known for offering politics and entertainment betting. Most famously, who's going to win the presidential race was a big one, right? Oscars and Grammys and all that. That's all started to gain momentum. But Bree, is this for real, or is this just a fad, or is it way overblown for purposes of advertising and news?
Way overblown.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Come on, man. Did you watch the Oscars?
No.
Neither did I.
Yeah.
Did I need to see Robert De Niro come out and make an ass of himself? No. Yeah. Fuck Trump.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bob, what'd that do for you, bud?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, actors are always proving that when someone's not writing their lines, they're in trouble, right? We saw that with Charlie Sheen when he went on his winning tour, right? And all of a sudden he wasn't reading great writers' lines, and he was like coming up with his own stuff. And God, was that embarrassing. Every time these actors start to go off on their own tangents, you can see how important writers are in Hollywood. Writers are probably the most underrated section and segment of Hollywood. It's why there have been so many writer strikes over the decades versus actual actor strikes, because it's the writers at the end of the day that really matter. That's what I believe, at least.
No, I agree. And again, just to put the closing chapter on that, I don't think he realizes what an ass he made out of himself, because there's nothing you can do about it. He's president. He's president for the next 4 years. Get used to eating it because you can't change anything.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. It's crazy, but like I think that's one thing that the Democrats, who I have a lot of friends who are Democrats, which I hate saying that. It's like when someone calls you racist and you go, "Well, I have a lot of friends that are black," but
Yes.
I have a lot, like I have a lot of friends who are Democrats. I'm not going to not be their friend just because they're retarded. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And I don't even know that we can say retarded. I think we have to say exceptional now. So just because they're exceptional, and you know what? Like I don't think I think they grossly misjudge the country and where the country's at right now. I think that they think that it's still 50-50 because they watch the news, and the regular news, which is an arm of the Democratic Party, even Fox News is not really conservative. They have a few conservative pundits, but their newsroom is still the same newsroom that every other news outlet is using for their stories. And I think they listen to that and really think that represents the public, but it doesn't, right? There's probably about 25 or 30% of the public that is against Trump, and part of that 30% is the media, and they're a loud, very loud part of it, so it makes it seem like it's more. But I mean, when Trump had a speech the other night in front of Congress, he had a 76% approval rating. 76%.
I was about to say he went close to 90 minutes.
Yeah, and flawless.
Right.
But anyway,
Flawless, and close to 80% of America agrees. So you 20% have fun on your own little island because you're gonna be sucking it for 4 more years. I just thought it was great. I really do. And I think our country's heading in a much better direction.
Now that makes for a good segue, because before we get into that thing that everybody really came for, which is the weekly winners, let's do what we do on this show that no other sports gambling show does. Let's take a look around the country, and we just did a little bit, and discuss what the fuck is going on. So much going on this week. Almost too much to cover. Almost too much stuff to go over. I mean, we had, pretty much the meeting in the White House with Zelensky and Trump, and Vance. We had the speech to Congress. I mean, so many different things. What stood out to you this week the most? What affected you the most? If there was one thing you could discuss this week from this action-packed week that went on in politics, what would it be?
The dog and pony show of Zelensky. To think that you were going to meet with the Democrats prior to coming to meet with the president.
Right.
And to think that meeting was going to go well. Right. The stupidity of this man, that you need American help. You just pissed it away.
Yeah.
And somewhere down the road, you're going to have to tuck your tail between your legs and pick up that phone and say, I was wrong. Where do we go from here? And that's my opinion.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's happened yet, but it has to happen or he's done. Simple as that.
Yeah, well, let me tell you what did happen is that immediately Trump canceled all foreign aid to Zelensky, and all the weapons. He canceled all that. So now he goes over to Europe, right? And he goes and he gets $2 billion from them. $2 billion? What's he gonna do with $2 billion? Launch spitballs at Russia? Like $2 billion's not buying. We were giving him hundreds of billions at a time, right? And that's what allowed the Ponzi scheme to go into effect, as we sent him hundreds of billions, and then he paid for those weapons to who? To us, and then millions and millions and tens and hundreds of millions all went into the right hands. While I heard that while Zelensky was in the White House meeting at the Oval Office with Vance and Trump, his wife was on Madison Avenue spending $1 million shopping. So like, this is a guy who was a comedian before Obama and Biden put him into office, taking out the elected leader, inserting him for what? For exactly what we're seeing, to run the Ponzi scheme with the military-industrial complex and to get Obama richer than he was. Obama was a guy who came into office. He was worth $1 million. Then when he left office, he was worth close to $100 million after 8 years of getting a salary of $400,000 a year. If me and you made $400,000 a year, we'd be broke. Him, he makes $400,000 a year, and he's worth $100 million all of a sudden. How does that happen? Well, this is exactly how it happens. And I think I think that maybe this guy thought he was dealing with Biden again. Like maybe he thought that's the way it's going to. He's just so used to coming in there, and getting $100 million or $1 billion at a clip that he just thought he was gonna shake down President Trump. But like a really good real estate tycoon like Trump is, he knows he's the only buyer for this building. So like whatever, you don't want, I'll just stay quiet and wait. But the next time Zelensky comes, believe me, he's not going to have the same deal. And for everyone out there, Brandon, that thinks, just Trump wants the minerals so he can get the $350 billion back. Yeah, yes, but it's bigger than that. If we get the minerals in Ukraine, what happens? That we have an interest in Ukraine. Now, anybody who wants to attack Ukraine has to say to themselves, wait a second, we're not just attacking Ukraine, we're attacking U.S. interests. And that, in and of itself, is the biggest...
Game changer.
Right. It's the biggest...
Game changer. I thought just the cherry on top of the sundae was Donald deferred a little bit and Vance just came guns a-blazing.
Well, Vance is the most articulate. He's got all the cred, right? He's a hillbilly. His mother was a drunk and she's in recovery, so he's got the recovery cred. He's got the hillbilly cred, and then he's a Yale graduate, so he's like articulate and he's brilliant. And then he's a military guy. He's a Marine. Like that's 4. He's got 4 strikes, like that 4 amazing points that you just can't overcome. Why wouldn't Trump let him go? You know what I mean? Trump's got his hitman right next to him, and I thought Vance did a great job. Now look, the Democrats are never going to like it. The Democrats don't like anything. We say they sat in the speech. They never stood up. They never clapped, even for the angel moms. Right? Who lost their children to illegal immigrants who murdered them. They wouldn't even recognize them. Like that was a miscalculation there. And the worst of it to me was the kid with brain cancer who Trump made. First of all, what I love most about some of these speeches and as we're watching Trump over the last 8 years is not really the presidential stuff, which is great. Like all the policy is great. All the rhetoric is great. The jabs are great. The humor is great. When he went through all the Doge stuff and he's like, transgenderism in Zimbabwe, 20 billion. Like, people thought that was an act. That was all real. That was all real. But it was funny. And Trump has a really good way of being funny. But when he is human, when he in the past has had his grandkids come up on stage, when you see Trump the grandpa, Trump the dad, and then you see Trump make this kid an honorary Secret Service agent, by the way, who later came into in the Oval Office and gave Trump a big hug. That's great. These are the moments that you kind of look at Trump and you go, oh man, that's my dad. That's my grandpa. You know what I mean? Yep. I think he needs to do more of that. That humanization of Trump is so important. Those are my favorite moments, to see that kid get hoisted up and then to see the Democrats sit down during, who's against the kid with brain cancer? How does that work? That's crazy.
I'll give you just one last point. This viral video. Trump gets off Air Force One. There's 2 soldiers sitting there. Trump stops, salutes them, shakes both their hands, walks away. Cut to Biden getting off Air Force One, walks right by him, doesn't give a shit. That in itself just goes to show you the difference of many differences. One of the differences of a guy that's trying to do something from a genuine standpoint, everything he's trying to get rich. He's just trying to get this thing heading in a better direction.
No, 100% agree. All right, guys, it is that time now. The time you've all been waiting for. Here it comes, guys. It's the winners. This week's free picks. But remember, guys, free picks are just that, free picks. For your best chance to win, grab that all-access pass and the premium plays from all the top cappers in the country, only on 2foryourmoney.com. That's what I do, and that's what you should do too. Okay, let's get down to business. It's time to go head-to-head with your bookie. You ready, B? First up, it's a Saturday noontime college basketball game. Remember, these lines are all estimated by Brandon last week. Once again, flawless in his predictions of what the lines would be. St. John's, it is Thursday, and therefore these lines are not out yet. Brandon has made these lines, and he will choose the winners as well, who will cover. St. John's is at Marquette. By the way, St. John's has got a player, RJ. Have you seen him? Reggie.
Yeah.
So Reggie played with Jace. I don't know if you remember when you used to come see Jace and the Rams play. Reggie was our forward. So we had Reggie for 9 years. He played with my son Jace, on the Rams.
Well, yeah, because we had the one kid at Indiana. I think he's moved on.
Malik. That was Malik. Malik Renew, right?
I remember Malik. I don't remember Reggie.
Yeah, so Reggie was a guard. He was Jace's height. And then all of a sudden, his dad was 6'9", right? We always knew he was going to grow, but he was like 6'1", 6'2" through high school. His senior year of high school, he becomes almost like Chris Mullen. Chris Mullen was 6'2" until he was a senior in high school, and then he became 6'11" and was a top recruited kid in the country. Same thing with Reggie. Reggie Lewis, I think his last name is R.J. Lewis. Reggie Lewis on St. John's was 6'2" till about his senior year in high school, and then he became 6'7". And I think he's going to the NBA, by the way. He is phenomenal player.
I brought them
and
up.
he was a
Go ahead.
soccer player, by the way. Basketball was his second sport. It was an afterthought. What he really was good at was soccer, and that gave him that wind and those legs, and he could run and run and run and run. And in basketball, that's such a huge advantage, especially at 6'7" with the talent that he has. All right, so first up, it is St. John's. Reggie Lewis against Marquette. Marquette is 6 at Marquette. Brandon, who do you like?
So before you get hammered on social media, Chris Mullen's 6'7", not 6'11". Let's not give him four
Isn't
extra
he
inches.
He's not 6'9"?
No, he's like 6'7". Trust me.
But
Lefty jumper.
I'll tell you one thing, bro, about Chris Mullen. I have a friend, Tony, who watches this podcast, who was let into a Golden State Warriors practice when Mullen was on the team, and he's out there watching practice, and Mully's not out there, and everyone wants to see Mully, and all of a sudden Mully comes out of the locker room. He gets on the court while the team's like doing their stuff on the other side. He takes 3 shots from 3. He makes them both. Makes all 3. Takes 3 shots, makes all 3, and then leaves, goes back into the locker room. So Tony's friend is like the trainer or something, and he walks up to him. He says, "What the fuck was that?" Like, comes out, shoots 3 shots, makes them all, and he goes, "Mullen hasn't missed a shot in 3 weeks." So literally every shot in practice that he's taken for 3 weeks, he hasn't missed 1 shot, and he's keeping that streak going. So he comes out and he shoots 3 shots, he makes them and leaves. He's been doing that for 3 weeks. Mullen was one of the best shooters in the game when he was drunk. When he was drunk, he was drunk for about 3 years straight and was untouchable. And then he became even better when he got sober. But I mean, my God, this is a guy who played drunk better than anyone else. But I don't want to digress. Let's go back to the game.
So
St. John's Marquette.
Marquette comes off the real tough loss last night to UConn. 1-point game, 32 seconds to go. UConn out of the timeout, hits a 3. A couple guys on the website had a play on UConn minus the points, got the job done. They come back home. Now, St. John's is playing for a number 1 seed.
Right.
That's huge. And so on the road here, if they're getting upwards of 6 or more, you got to take Rick Pitino and St. John's playing for a number 1 seed. I just think it's too many points. If I'm off on this line and Marquette's 4 or less, then you may look at a value play on Marquette at home. But I just think the Johnnies, with everything on the table, Tennessee went down the other night, Auburn went down the other night, St. John's is right there for number 1 seed. I'll take the Johnnies if they're getting 6 or more.
Next up, it's Saturday, 6:30 p.m. Duke -7 at North Carolina. How do you see this one, B?
So Duke's got 2 losses this year. They both were 1-possession games, went right down to the wire. Both times Cooper Flagg had the ball in his hand, slipped and fell, game over. Now they're going on the road here. First meeting between these two, Duke jumped on them early. North Carolina battled back, got within the number, and then Duke pulled away and covered. North Carolina's on the proverbially a bubble. They have to win this game, or the only way Hubert Davis and the Tar Heels are getting into the NCAA tournament is if they win the ACC tournament. That's it. Right. There's no 2 ways about it. They've had that kind of year. And considering how good they're playing right now, if you're getting North Carolina at home, 6 or more, I'm on the Tar Heels playing for their tournament life. I like what I see from North Carolina. I will take them at home in a rivalry game over Duke.
That makes a lot of sense. Last Saturday game of the night that we're going to talk about is the 8:30 p.m. primetime game in the NBA. Lakers at Celtics. Celtics are 7. Interesting game because, everyone's talking about the Lakers with the trade and Doncic and James and everyone hitting their stride over there. But as 7-point favorites, that's a lot of respect for this Celtics team. Are they just on another level from a team like the Lakers who may be hiding out west? Are the Celtics just that much better that they would be 7-point favorites at home?
Well, last night Tatum set out.
Right.
And you had Pritchard and White both go for 40 plus, making a total of 19 threes between them.
Yeah.
And cover the number. So Tatum setting out, resting, came on our podcast last week and talked about Denver was teed up to take care of the Lakers. The Lakers went in there and got the win over Denver. I think they're 8-2 or 9-2 since Luka's come aboard. I like them here. Big test for them tonight. They're playing against the Knicks in the Garden, and then they got 2 days off before rolling up to Boston. I'm going to take the Lakers plus the points. I'm going to buy in to them going up there. If they beat Denver in Denver, I think they man up here and keep it close against the Celtics.
Well, and they have to beat the Knicks if they're going to beat Boston because Boston never loses to the Knicks. I think they're 8-1 in their last 9 against the Knicks. Just cannot beat the quality teams. They're beating everyone else, but they just don't seem to be able to beat the quality teams. The Lakers have to beat the Knicks if they're going to beat Boston. And finally, we'll go to the Sunday night bailout game. This is your last chance to get under your number so you don't have to settle with your bookmaker. It's an 8 p.m. start. It's the Cavaliers -4 at Milwaukee. B, who do you like in this very important matchup?
The Bucks are on a little bit of a roll. I believe going into this weekend, they've won 7 of 8 or 8 of 9. Giannis is back healthy. They're playing well. But every time Cleveland's been asked to step up, they have. I think as this podcast we're doing right now, they may have won 11 or 12 in a row. They just keep getting it done. They're going on the road here. I'm still not a believer in Doc Rivers, and I'm still not a believer in the Milwaukee Bucks. I just don't think they're good enough defensively, and I think the bigs of the Cavs can get it done. If the line is 4 or less here, I think you got to take the Cavs. I don't think Milwaukee's ready to step up and take that next step to get up to that plateau of Cleveland, Boston, and everybody else. I don't think Milwaukee's there yet. I'll lay the small number with the Cavs.
Well, if my ex-wife was a basketball team, she'd be the Bucks. I know she got half of mine, that's for sure. And that'll do it for this week. Don't forget to follow us and hit subscribe, and make sure you go to twoforyourmoney.com. Grab a 2-day all-access pass. We'll see you next week. For Brandon Lang, I am Steve Budin, and we are 2 for Your Money.